Hey guys, welcome back to the Beer Temple for the grand finale of our series on stouts.
Very exciting.
The granddaddy, very fitting, I think, finale. So we did Imperial Stouts on the last show, Russian Imperial Stouts. So these are barrel-aged Russian Imperial Stouts. So kind of the creme de la creme, right, so to speak. This is really, I think, the biggest of the big. You know, they are the biggest style in general, these Russian Imperial Stouts, and they also lend themselves excellently to barrel aging. I think better than any style there is, unless you want to count lambics or something like that as really a barrel aging, but I don't think you don't really get any barrel qualities from that, where here you certainly do.
Right, that's the whole point.
Right, that's the point, exactly. So barrel aging is becoming more and more popular in American craft beer, and like I said just a moment ago, I think the most common one is for the Russian Imperial Stouts to be barrel aged, and almost 9 times out of 10, the barrel that they use is a bourbon barrel. So we have 2 bourbon barrel aged beers. There are wine barrel aged or other liquor barrels, but almost always it's going to be bourbon barrels, which means American oak. So you're going to get 1, the bourbon flavors, and 2, kind of those big oaky vanilla flavors as well. And
isn't that how like aging beer in bourbon barrels came into be, is because the bourbon industry had all these extra barrels. They have to use a new barrel each time, right? So they have all these excess barrels, bourbon barrels, and you know, I guess years ago brewers started snatching them up and using them for barrel aging beers. So that's why we have that explosion of bourbon.
Yeah, I mean, in general, that's where a lot of stuff that's aged in barrels comes from. Almost all Scotch is aged in bourbon barrels. So, just because, yeah, to be a bourbon, it has to be fresh American oak used every time. So then they have to get rid of it. So you can't really use that for wine because there's been bourbon in it. Yeah, and it's, very oaky. So, yeah, so that's what they do. So, oh, one thing before we get into it, the lighting's a little bit messed up. We're doing kind of like a noir-y, kind of shadowy look here.
It was a dark and stormy day.
So one of our bulbs blew out right as we were getting ready to go, so we put in a weaker bulb so you can see it can't really hold up to it. So Margaret's a little bit darker than I am, and I've got a light side of the face.
It adds to the mystique of the dark beers we're going to have.
Also, it's a Sunday, so I'm definitely in my most casual attire, and I figured, you know what? Why dress up? These beers speak for themselves. You know, I think they're wearing the tuxedo and I'm wearing the tuxedo t-shirt, basically.
As usual.
Yeah. So anyway, for these 2 beers here, we have the first bourbon barrel aged beer ever. This is Bourbon County Stout. This is the first Imperial Stout to be made at a commercial level using bourbon barrels. And
Bourbon County Stout made by Goose Island, you should mention as well. Those who are not in the Chicago area, maybe not even the U.S., you may be wondering what the name was. So that is Goose Island Brewery right here in Chicago.
Yep, they've been making it for a long time, over 10 years. Started out in 92 as when they were just a brew pub, or I don't know if they were actually bottling back in 92 or not. I wasn't in Chicago at the time. But it was to commemorate the 1000th batch of beer they did. We had the batch 5000 on recently. So this was the 1000th batch. So they did this. They entered it in the GABF, the Great American Beer Fest, in the Imperial Stout category. It was disqualified because it did not fit the parameters for any style of beer at the time.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
But they gave it an honorable mention because they really liked it. Like, we don't know what this beer is, but it's good. So now I think it's probably that, or India Pale Ale is probably the #1 or 2 most entered category in GABF, just to give you an idea of how big this style is. And it all started with this beer right here, which is really
exciting,
cool. And for Chicago people, some of the Chicago beer geeks claim that the Chicago Beer Society, which is a homebrew and just beer enthusiast club, actually had gotten a barrel together and gotten a bunch of people to collectively do Russian Imperial Stout, and between their batches they filled up a bourbon barrel. They think, and they've been meeting at the Goose Clybourne pub since the beginning. So they kind of say, and we gave them the idea to do it.
Wow.
So homebrewers, again, hey, I like that story.
Tip of the hat to them, maybe. Yeah.
So we've got the Bourbon County here, and then we've got Firestone Walker's Parabola. That is there. You all right there, Max? Get a drink, come back.
He's on the move.
Belch, knock some lights maybe. Perfect. Do your job well.
Firestone Walker Parabola.
Yeah, so this is from Firestone Walker out of California. Definitely one of the highest pedigree of the very many breweries that they have out in California. Many of them great, but this is one of the few breweries. A lot of breweries make good beer or have good beers. Firestone Walker, I think, is one of the elite few who do not make a bad beer. There are certain breweries that make good beer, and there are certain ones who everything is good. There's not a single thing they don't make that isn't good.
And that's really difficult if you think about that.
Yeah, and I would put Firestone Walker up there. I mean, they're one of the best of the best. They just got so many great beers, and this is one of them. They've been making this for a couple of years now, but they've only been bottling it for like 1 year or so, like 1 or 2 years. This is the second bottling of it. This is from 2011, so the most recent, and this is from 2009.
Okay. So a little bit of age on that BCS, which I actually prefer. I've had some BCS in the past. It's been a little too hot for me, so I'm looking forward to trying the
yeah. So which one do you want to do first?
Years of age.
Want to do Parabola first?
Yeah, let's do Parabola first.
Okay.
Interesting thing about Firestone Walker is that they actually started brewing out of a winery, which makes perfect sense. Winery down in Santa Barbara County, California. Right, they've got a little marker on the...
Marker saying that they won gold medal at the 2010 World Beer Cup.
Yeah, that's great. So this is very exciting. So yeah, they started brewing out of a winery, and then back in 2001 started brewing out of their own operations. But it just kind of makes you think about how California's big on the wine industry and now increasingly getting bigger and bigger with beer as well.
Same with Russian River. Same way they started. They started with Korbel. So again, just like the non-barrel aged Imperial Stouts, you're certainly not going to get them lighter as you age them in bourbon. A lot of these times the bourbon barrels are quote-unquote wet. So there's quite a bit of bourbon in there, enough to even bump up the alcohol.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And certainly enough to get the residual flavor of the bourbon as well.
Well, the color on this, I mean, it's not black, midnight black. I mean, you can definitely see through, as you kind of swirl the beer around, you can see there's, like very dark browns, kind of a coffee color at the bottom.
Yeah.
So it's really an attractive beer.
It is nice. And when you swirl it, look, it's got those like reddish, ruby hues to it, almost like a port.
Yeah. And again, no real head to speak of.
Nope.
Again, the high alcohol volume on that.
Yeah, what's the alcohol on this one?
I think it's about 13% ABV.
Yep, 13%.
So it's...
Production 3,000 cases, aged for a full year. It's a long time.
It is. All right. Give it a smell. I mean, obviously you pick up the bourbon, you pick up the barrel. I also pick up some fruit here. Some dried fruit.
Yeah.
It's not just, one of these beers that's
like
just
red fruit.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like raisins, but more brighter, like more bright, like cherries and stuff like that.
Which was surprising to me. Oftentimes with some of the Russian Imperial Stouts, I don't pick up much fruit, if any, really.
Yeah.
I can't even remember one where I've picked up a lot of fruit, but on this one you definitely do.
Yeah.
And it's nice.
But it's underlying. It's underlying. I mean, the first thing you get is the bourbon. The second thing you get is oak. So it's bourbon and oak, underlying fruit, dried fruit tones, and obviously, a big dark malt base as well. So a lot going on in the nose. None of them are really overpowering any of the other.
I think it smells really well balanced. Yeah,
and I think that's the sign of a really well-made beer, especially one with so much going on as this, where you can smell the different components. It's not easy to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's give it a taste.
It's good. It's got a really nice chocolate coconut character to it.
Yeah, I get a lot of coconut in it.
You do get that fruit as well, and the booze.
Definitely get the booze. Yeah, a ton of coconut in this. Obviously, that's the oak lending that kind of coconut vanilla quality to the beer. Have another sip.
Yeah, it's nice. It's not a huge viscous monster either.
No.
It's not overly sweet.
Nope.
It's semi-dry, I guess I would say. And
there's definitely a good amount of sweetness in it. I mean, You know, I feel like we've been saying this a lot during the stout episodes, but definitely a beer you want to have with dessert. You know, chocolate desserts obviously would go very well with this because it does have that nice bit of a kind of bittersweet in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good beer. I don't have the dump buckets or on the hook to finish these.
Oh, wow. Max.
No. Pour some out for my dog.
You really think I would do that?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I don't know.
Like he's down there waiting.
Oh, Max. He doesn't deserve this.
All right.
That's great.
Yeah, and again, it is very well balanced. You know, like I said before,
It's hot though.
It's hot, but
This
some
could,
of those are some of them can be so harsh, but this doesn't have that harshness.
Yeah,
that
it's got a nice kind of warming sensation to it.
Absolutely.
You do get the flavor of it without feeling like you just took a shot of bourbon.
Yeah, totally.
Which is nice. And I think this beer is set up to age very well. Because I think as maybe some of that oak and bourbon drops out, you're going to get more of the fruit kind of coming forward and more of kind of the chocolatey notes as well.
Do you want to rate this beer?
Yeah, I do want to rate this beer.
Well, have at it then.
I'm going to go 94 on that beer. I think it's you know, one of the better barrel-aged imperial stouts I can remember.
I'm going very high as well. For me, I guess 93, which is sort of surprising considering that sometimes these beers are a little harsh for me. So this is an excellent example of a bourbon barrel-aged beer.
And now, the one thing I like about this is they make this beer available in large format and small format. Used to only be small format, but now they do both. Let me finish that off. Don't want to taint your sample here.
All right, there you go.
You okay there, Max?
Yeah.
Oh, man, he is fully sowed out.
And for those fans of Bourbon County Stout, you can get it fairly widely across the country now. I think in many places, if you can get Goose Island at all, oftentimes you are getting the Bourbon County Stout. But you also may be able to find coffee Bourbon County Stout, vanilla Bourbon County Stout.
Good luck.
Yeah, well, good luck, I guess.
Bramble.
They are
they're coming out with Bramble Bourbon County Stout. Yeah, they're out there. This is probably one of the easier ones to get, just because it travels well and it stays for a while. It's a little bit more expensive, so people don't just kind of pick it up on a whim.
Right, and it's kind of iconic too. You know, you definitely remember this beer.
Again, oh, do we not have our heat turned off?
The heat is not turned off.
Why don't you go turn off the heat real quick before it cuts on? Go, run!
I'm going.
I'll count 1, 2, 3. Sorry. We were just about to get a big, like, sound.
Yeah, our heat would not do well.
So anyway, thank you for doing that. And so this one, I'd say it's about the same color.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite the same red quality to it.
Yeah.
But it's got a really nice brown, amber color to it. It's great, almost like a mahogany wood.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Mahogany wood.
Yeah, he's so proud of himself when he comes up with this stuff.
Almost completely, not almost, completely still.
It is. It definitely is. And that's why I said again, it looks like coffee sitting in the glass.
Yeah.
Interesting thing to note, I don't know if you've mentioned this already, is that we are serving these at room temperature today. You know, and again, notice the snifters because of the high ABV. This is not something you want to have a huge pour of.
Yeah. In fact, this beer, almost like a wine, it has like legs.
Yeah,
it's
it does.
Like kind of
definitely.
running. It's running down. Yeah. So let's take a sniff. All right, go for it.
I was gonna say I'm not getting a lot of the fruit that I got on the Firestone Walker. I think I'm getting a little more booze for sure on this.
I'm getting less booze. I'm getting kind of the underlying flavor of it, but I'm not getting that high alcohol note. I'm getting definitely more chocolate and more roast as well.
Yeah,
and rather than the fruit coming forward. But you're definitely still getting that oak as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Kind of like a coconutty flavor to it. So let's go.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Smoother than the. It's been aging, so it's a little smoother.
Yeah.
I don't really taste the alcohol in it, but you feel the burn. You feel the burn in your esophagus.
I don't get a huge burn out of this, and that's again going back to why sometimes I don't like bourbon or Bourbon County Stout. I'll just say it is because it's too harsh and it gives me that burn.
Well,
this
I guess I shouldn't
not
say
giving me that burn.
Let me not say burn. Let me say you get a nice the warming like my esophagus is like kind of warming right now as a result. Just like when you drink a whiskey, how it kind of gives you that warming quality to it.
Yeah, I guess I get that a little bit, but
yeah.
I mean, not super noticeable for me anyway. But this beer like makes me smile because I really like this, and I was a little hesitant. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to get into. I think the couple years of age on this beer is why I like it as much as I do.
It's fuller than the Parabola. It's rounder.
Yep.
It's kind of softer. You're getting all the ingredients there as well. I'm not getting a ton of dark fruit, but I am getting maybe just a hint, but mainly just chocolate, like rich coffee flavors without that acrid bitterness. Just like a nice roast to it as well.
Yeah.
And a nice, the boozy, like you're not really tasting it, but like I said, you kind of have a nice warming feel to it.
I think if you have a chocolate lover in your life, have them try this beer because chocolate is all I can say. I mean, it's not meant to taste exactly like chocolate, but it certainly tastes like, just wonderful chocolate syrup or something like that. Again, with the roast and the coffee and all the other things going on.
I take it back. I am starting to get some cherries now coming out in this as well. Yeah. Yeah, almost like those rum-soaked cherries or something.
I think I have to go higher on the Bourbon County.
I do too.
Which is surprising to me. I wasn't expecting this, but the Bourbon County surprised me today. I'm gonna go, I guess, 96. I mean, this is a delicious beer. It brought a smile to my face when I sipped it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go even higher. I'm gonna go 97.
Wow.
Because I don't know what else could you possibly want out of this beer? I can think of one thing that I could possibly want to it.
What?
Coffee added to it,
Right.
which they do.
Because he's a coffee BCF fiend, for anyone who doesn't know.
I am a fiend. I'll have it on, and I'll just have to probably rate it ahead of time because I can't honestly give it a fair rating. It's like, all right, this beer's going to be 100, now let me taste it and tell you about it.
Right. But what you need to know is that this is a delicious beer. It's one of the highest rated beers that we've had here in the Beer Temple.
Yeah, it's a classic.
So go out and try it. And the Firestone Walker is no slouch either. So if you can get your hands on that, give it a shot.
And here's one thing to remember about this beer in particular is it is one of the easier ones to get, so to speak. It's not, a lot of these huge imperial stouts are impossible to find, very hard to get. You only can get them in limited quantities. Right now, this isn't quite at that level, which is good. So go get it. Go get it.
And 2011 BCS should be coming out very soon.
Yeah,
right?
It's bottled right now, or being bottled as we speak. So yeah, it should be coming out. So you could look for that in the next couple months.
Get a couple extra, put it in your cellar, and enjoy it in a couple years because I think that age on this beer is the key.
Yeah, I mean, I know people who buy a case of this every year.
Well, Max has started snoring, so I think that's our timer for ending the show.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, guys. Sorry for some of the technical delays with having to turn off our heater and the light's not going right and our dog is snoring. But hey, it is what it is. Thanks, guys. 2 great beers to have on kind of a rainy Sunday afternoon. Tell us what you think of this stout series, if there's anything you think we left out, or just if you like when we kind of do the same style in multiple shows. We tried it. Let us know what you think.
I know one guy's going to say that we left out oatmeal stouts, so that maybe have to be in a future edition.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different types of stouts that you could do. I was going to do 3, then I expanded it to 4 for the barrel aged. But yeah, certainly could have done an oatmeal stout as well.
Yeah. For another day.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, guys. Let us know how you feel. Drop me an email or a comment on the website. We always appreciate that. We're climbing up in the iTunes ranks yet again, so thank you for all your ratings and reviews. If you do watch the show and you haven't yet done that, I'd really, really appreciate it. And that's about it. So, what was I going to say? I thought of a really good catchphrase.
We've got some beer to drink.
And hopefully you do too.